Good afternoon, Europe. Good morning, United States. This is Mike Lisewski from Poznań, from Merrick Studio. Today, we will be talking about the branding for startups. And we have two special guests today, Sofia Dimitrova and Jordan Petrov of Fiction Agency. Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Hello.
Hello, Mike. Doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for joining. Uh, your agency has a very strong portfolio, and I know that you've got offices in Berlin and in Sofia. Guys, if you could tell in a few words of introduction, what is the company doing? I think we lost Sofia for a second. I hope she will be capable of joining, but let's continue. Okay, Sofia is back with us. Okay, so we didn't reach the first question. If you could introduce briefly what are you doing, what are your roles within the organization, and what kind of clients you're working with.
Hello. Thanks for having us, first of all. I'm Sofia, and I'm one art director at Fiction. So we founded the studio 5 years ago with the main idea to combine strategy and forward-thinking design. And we specialize in startups who have the ambition to grow their business, and we basically help them to bring their visions to life and to create a positive change and difference and impact for the society. We are also based in both Berlin and Sofia, which gives us quite different point of view. And maybe Jordan can also
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm here representing the strategy team at Fiction today, and I think that Sophie really made a great short pitch. But in addition, we really aim at creating experiences that accelerate the long-term change and, of course, enable growth for our clients. However, this is not the only thing that drives us. One of our other primary goals is to also, with everything we do, affect customers' mindset as well towards terms like aesthetic and innovation, and basically anything related to enabling people to develop their creativity. As innovation, in our understanding, it is not necessarily creating something incredibly new that hasn't been out there, but also solving a very simple and fundamental problem in a new way that makes people's life easier. So I think that these are the main things that we believe in and stand for.
Okay, then thank you for this. As you mentioned, one of the locations is in Berlin, which is currently probably the biggest startup hub in Europe. Yeah, I've been to Berlin for several times. I had a few very good clients and partners over there. And on one hand, this is a great environment to launch a startup and to provide some services to a startup. But on the other, it's extremely competitive. So from your perspective, what are the main challenges when it comes to the, let's say, startups as an industry? Yeah, like the startup industry.
Okay. I'll try to tackle this. So first, Berlin is currently a great place to be. The trends of becoming the central startup hub in Europe really accelerated throughout the last few years because of what happened with Brexit, and also Berlin is a city full of cultural diversity. So many galleries, exhibitions, events. So it's not a coincidence that both two of my partners, our creative director and our art director, are based in Berlin, because it also provides a lot of different point of views over a lot of artistic and societal problems, rich cultural life. And the other thing, the challenges that we would say that we meet in the industry. Nowadays, the startup world is going crazier and crazier every day. The speed with which new companies appear is increasing rapidly, and for many brands, the demand and strive for innovation and launching cutting-edge value proposition leads to launching increasingly more digital products that are aiming at addressing narrow consumer needs. So it's very often that in this effort to kind of create something for everyone, companies often forgot and overlook their initial mission, the purpose with which they've been created, in the search for short-term profit and making their investors happy. And this is actually a trap. This is also reflected by the emerging new market categories. Actually, market category creation became something like a sport for startups, and the ultimate goal for many of them. So in this effort to deliver innovation, businesses are falling into the trap of not being understood by potential consumers or clients, and this can have very detrimental effects that are not expected. So we see that it's often catalyzed by seeing buzzwords in the value proposition that actually don't bring meaning to consumer minds. So what I mean by that, I mean AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, etc. Those are really, really powerful technologies that enable a plethora of new use cases, etc. However, they are just tools, utilities, and not actual propositions. So they really don't mean value for consumers, and they don't care about what a product is powered by, but how well it could serve their needs. At the same time, we can see that, which is actually a great trend, issues such as climate change, mental health, diversity at the workplace, they have become critically important to many workers, and this pressure basically any business into changing how they approach their product development process, what are the internal processes and the practices that they follow in order to be in line with what people actually want. So this also leads some companies to a trap, because it's super easy for consumers to smell brands that just do things in these areas in order to project a good image, but somehow they do not behave in a truly authentic way. So yeah, what we're seeing is that both employees and consumers and users, they seek purpose beyond disruption more than anything before, and business leaders need to ask the difficult questions about what value building a purpose-led brand could bring to their organization. This needs to be a priority for founders from day one, from the very moment that they start, and then make sure that despite all the challenges that they meet over their path, they don't derail from this fundamental purpose. So I hope that this addresses your question.
Well, I think you provided even like a short overview of the entire startup scene, because I need to admit that also from my experience at Verix, we are receiving requests for proposals from startups, which are, let's say, mentioning blockchain and AI and machine learning. And sometimes even when we recognize what is the actual need or what the product or service is meant to do or deliver, there's no necessity of introducing them, but they look good on the pitch deck when someone is applying for the investment. Yeah. Okay.
Just using the buzzwords.
They might work well for investors, but as it comes to actually communicating value to consumers and users, they do not help that much.
Okay, thank you for this. By taking this chance, I wanted to encourage our audience. In the comment section below this post, you can actually ask your own questions. So, and we will be happy to answer them. Now, question to Sofia. Since we are talking about communication a little bit, where the branding actually starts. What does the branding come to? If you could introduce us to that topic, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So the best way to start is really to ask yourself, like, how I can help my customers to become better versions of themselves. And it's also really critical to know your audience, to know their pain points, and to know who you're talking to, and really not to try to please everyone, but instead to like be more intentional of who you're making your products for, and building your product based on their needs and desires instead of the other way around. So yeah, great brands, they usually have a loyal tribe, but they also have people who don't get them or don't like them, and that's totally fine. But yeah, overall, the brand is just a unique story that consumers recall when they think of you. It could be colors, a specific color, or sound, or like it could be a component of many things. And this is what builds the trusted relationship between the brand and their users. And I think also a very important part is that you use your visuals to be based on your brand identity and not the other way, because after all, your visuals are meant to express who you are. And yeah, it makes sense first to figure out that. In short, I think, yeah, it's a good start.
All right then. Well, thank you for touching this, because a couple of years ago, like me, like ignorant, would say that branding is about designing a logo and picking the right colors for your website. Yeah, with all due respect. Of course, I know that it's much more, but it took me a little bit of time to understand it. So perhaps question to Jordan. Jordan, what is the scope of branding actually? How wide this word is?
Yeah, thanks for bringing this point, because this is actually a conversation that we have more often than not. As often people, as they talk about branding, they discuss visual assets, visual identity, color, typography, logo, and all things like this. But that's not branding. That's actually what we call visual design. And usually the process starts from defining your purpose, discovering it, then discovering the positioning, your benefits, the true value that you bring to the people that you care about, the personality of the brand, aspiration, and the emotion that needs to be conveyed throughout all assets. So then this is a fundamental strategy that needs to be translated into how the brand expresses itself, and this goes through the verbal, visual, and very often through the sound identity systems of a brand, especially with the rise of podcasts and audio advertising. Sound identity becomes more important than ever before. So yeah, I think that this explains why a brand is so much more than the logo. And of course, the color palette, the corporate typography, imagery, and the specific styles of photography are really critical for the perfect embodiment of your brand DNA. So you're able to convey the underlying story through what you're presenting. However, these only matter if there is enough and real substance underneath.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for touching in this, and thank you for explanation, because I think this is something very important. Today we mentioned, let's say, the aspect of feelings and emotions, and we also mentioned the aspect of technology used as a buzzword, but used also as something useful. Now, Sofia, question to you. On what we should actually focus more? Shall we focus more on emotions, or shall we focus more on, let's say, technological aspect while delivering branding?
Well, features matter, definitely, but they are not enough. It's for successful launch of a product, you really need the balance between the both, the rational and the emotional part. And yeah, it's really more about the technical side of a product, but also about how it makes people feel when they interact or use the product. And there is no branding without a successful business, because you can have like a great, super attractive design and messaging, and you can convince your customers to like try your product. But at the end of the day, if you're not really solving a problem for the people, then your product won't deliver on its promise and people won't really come back. So there's nothing more important than to really identify the true needs that drives people on the first step, like beyond the obvious, and to pay attention to it.
All right. Okay then. So we covered, let's say, variety of topics, yeah. But from time to time, there comes a moment when basically you need to, let's say, prioritize few things, some factors, while, let's say, creating something and coming something. And my question to Jordan would be, how can extreme focus be a strength according to you? Let's say, because you mentioned before this meeting that that this is very important in your profession, and if you could explain how this would be powerful.
Yeah, this is really great question, and something that we really aim to make our the organizations that we work with to see and to kind of embody into how they operate. So just imagine what kind of joy everyone experiences in their life as you have something that completely meets your needs, and it provides you with a refreshing feeling of lightness and freedom that comes from not having the burden on yourself to make choice. It saves you time, and just feeling great that someone else out there knows exactly how to take care of you. And I think that this is really nailed by most of the consumer brands out there, but this is also that could make or break a business-to-business brand. So if you want to achieve excellence with your product, the counterintuitive way is to solve a problem for just one super specific niche, and then make this solution of this problem to stand out. This is how you should manage and make your brand stand out for something in the user's mind. It's very lucrative to kind of try to deliver something little to everyone, but then this is exactly the path of irrelevance. So a very simple, example that I could give to our listeners is to think about the supermarket versus a really good small bakery shop. So the little shop down there the street, it embodies this idea more than anything else. Their fresh baked goods are so good that they're always top notch, and customers come along from miles around. So just they know what awaits them there at the bakery. And yeah, you can also get bakery from the supermarket, but it's some kind of something mediocre, and it really doesn't drive the same feeling and emotions. So
you don't go there especially for that, like you go for a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, you go there when you just don't have a better option. So this is also important in the terms of community building aspect. In order to build community among a particular set of people, one brand cannot try to be all things to everyone and to all people. It really needs to connect with the set of belief to a particular group of people. I think that this is what we mean by extreme focus. And I just want to wrap up this little discussion that we don't say that you should just do one thing and not do anything else. But every great brand it's known for one thing. So as you have a very clear promise and you're able immediately to deliver on this, then you can also suggest your consumers to solve another problems of theirs, but they already trust you. You build their trust, and they're very likely to also want to get something else from you. The way to achieve this is not to try to communicate 100 things at once, which is which is actually what happens into the communication of a lot of marketing folks out there. It's really a common trope. I hope that this provides clarity to the question about having a focus.
Well, it gives a lot. Yeah, sometimes I really like this comparison.
Really great question, by the way.
Well, I agree. Thank you. But very like I'm noticing on my professional life that, for example, lots of startups, they when I ask them, for example, for a user experience research purposes, that they aim to declare that they are for entire population, for example. Yeah, like someone is building an application which is meant, for example, to control your spendings or your well-being. And according to the founders, this could be, let's say, suitable for 80 years old ladies, as well as, let's say, adolescents, as well as, let's say, junior professionals, so people who are, let's say, 25, 30. Yeah, and I think such product doesn't exist. Yeah, or it may be created, but first you need to find some initial group of users that would appreciate it. So another question goes to Sofia. What does the community mean for you? Like, because if you have, let's say, like a dedicated group of potential users or consumers or so on, there is something which, let's say, is called community. Yeah. What does it mean to you from your perspective?
Well, I think community nowadays means really, in short, sharing the same values and the same goals. And it unifies the people based on like what brands they choose, for example, and like what they care about. And this builds the sense of community. And in this sense, the effective branding is all about creating connections by tapping into customers' emotions and their own identity. Brands build actually a connection with their audience, which is beyond just the functionality of the product, but it's also based on the way this brand makes them feel about themselves. And yeah, people usually feel very strong affinity towards the brands that they love, that really extends beyond the functionality. You know, you don't really buy a certain t-shirt because, like, you know, when you just prefer a certain brand, other t-shirt might have the same function, but you just choose your brand because of their values, not just because of how the t-shirt looks particularly. Yeah, maybe the t-shirt was not the best example, but I hope you got the idea.
Yeah, if I could chime in for a second, but it's actually a great example. Just think, for example, t-shirt brand like, but a brand that provides also t-shirts like Patagonia, and that has a really strong mission. But it's also important to mention here that for so many people out there currently, community is very quantitative metric. How many followers you have on different social media channels. This is not at all what the brand community could extend for. So as you see someone that has the same brand of backpack like you have, or they just discovered the same super cool Kickstart gadget that is, for example, has environmentally friendly benefits, etc. You just know that this person somehow relates to your values, and you care about the same stuff. And
to your circle.
it could really create a super strong shared sense of connection, and this could be also achieved with food brands, and basically any brand could do it.
But it's also really interesting in terms of globalization to think about that, because especially here in Germany, there's so many great local brands for like talking about backpacks and I have a particular one that I really like, and every time when I see someone with it like somewhere else on the other part of the world, I think, oh, they might be from Germany. And yeah, it's just like really. I think today more and more people are trying to support local ideas and businesses, and yeah, to really have more diversity instead of monopoly of, you know, like of big companies that we all know that are quite famous. And yeah,
I think that it would be great to sum it up that community is actually the great outcome that a really well-established brand could lead to.
yeah.
Well, I agree. So we could say that the perfect world would be a world of thousands of little small brands. Yeah, but on the other hand, as a branding expert, would you be able to imagine a market where there is no such thing as a brand which would be, let's say, like a recognizable worldwide, like Coca-Cola or Netflix, for example?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning this. As we discuss and chat about branding with different folks out there, we really don't like when there is just a certain number of really the biggest one, the most successful brands have been used for all examples, and we believe that currently in every categories around us that have so ingrained behaviors, it's just unthinkable and very hard to imagine how they could ever become different. And this immediately changes as a new brand comes along and actually changes everything. It's nowadays more common than any time before for new businesses to emerge and become super wildly successful by simply doing what customers want, and not by luck and chance, but purposefully and super intentional. So here is the key thing: no matter the category, you really have to put your customer interest at heart. And I think that the best example about introducing a thoughtfully developed brand into a category that previously wasn't brand driven at all could be witnessed and is already mainstream with the rise of the fintech category, for example, and just thinking about what N26 today means in Europe. But there are a lot of local examples, like for example, GetSafe in the insurtech space, and Tomorrow Banking that really aims to engage a very niche segment of customers. Also gorillas in Germany, and they're just huge now because of their ability to tap into the identities of their ideal users and to actually create this sense of community. I personally believe that the ultimate disruption is for one to prove that a good brand can come from totally unexpected, unsexy, or even if you say it, dull category. And what I mean, pardon?
A bit boring.
It's really like this. So think rental or car insurance, real estate, healthcare diagnostics, women health, contact lenses, erectile dysfunction. All of these categories embody in themselves a huge number of customer problems and needs. And as the brand starts to speak openly and actually provides a good solution to this problem, then they just don't have real competition in these categories, and it's a lot more easier to build a strong brand than, for example, to go into the consumer space, think t-shirts or even backpacks, where you have already thousands of really strong brands out there.
But still, it requires from them to be to be bold, to be risk takers, because it takes guts to do that. to be really different from your sector. Like especially nowadays, we can think about banks that go not the typical stereotypical boring way, just because we already had few examples. But for the first one who did it was definitely a big leap.
Yeah, I think that this is what disruption could be translated into a meaningful way. Exactly what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Being bold and being bold and taking care of your customers' needs. Not being afraid to head into unexplored territories before.
All right. Thank you for this. Jordan, so according to you, following what you just said, what categories would benefit most from the branding in the next few years? What verticals, what industries?
Like I mentioned, I think that it's the industries that are still about to see an explosion in the digitization, like for example, insurtech, which is already very quickly developing, real estate, even construction. Those are some categories where you currently definitely don't have something like Nike on your mind. Also in the health space, I think that the digitization is just starting, and there's so many therapeutic areas as well as different diagnostic approaches and new methods that appear that will basically allow consumers to take a lot better care for themselves in the preventive stage. So the development of a lot of diseases will cease as these new categories have been developed. So yeah, I think that we have to look at the very traditional industries that are everywhere around us, and we really don't currently associate with cool startups, with cool brands, with flash images. I think that all of those are basically open areas for innovation and for developing brand new value propositions that will engage people.
I think we start to see more and more examples in these fields that you mentioned, like especially in terms of mental health apps, like also given the situation last 1 year and a half with the isolation and the state of the people, like, and also woman health care, and I think it's more and more would be more growing in the last years, but there's already really good examples in these fields that are already doing what we talked about.
Yeah, it's already happening, but still, if we imagine the entertainment category, for example, there's so much more opportunity. Those are really great examples. We're constantly looking with the team at new brands that emerge and on all places around the world, and it's amazing. There isn't any category that is not ripe for disruption and that is really boring and couldn't be the home for a new global brand. So people just need to look what's at the places that don't look exciting right now, because this is actually an opportunity. This means that it's still a free space on consumer minds to be owned by another strong brand.
Right, and thank you for this. It looks like we've got one question from the audience, from Wojciech. Wojciech asks, is it possible to say how much time it takes to build a brand? Tricky one.
Yeah, this is a tricky question, and it's also kind of the question that every organization that comes in touch with us asks. So usually to go through the whole process and to really develop a brand starting from the scratch without having a battery of user insights and and the foundation to start from and to build it. The process could take up to a year, and this includes the whole discovery process, the whole strategy definition, and more than anything, alignment between the key stakeholders. And here, the most tricky part is to start from internal alignment, just making sure that the vision is articulated to the team in a very, very clear manner, because this could be enabler for speed and agility and growth. And then, of course, it should be also clearly articulated to the customers. But this is where the main focus is. And I strongly believe that the only modern way to actually manage branding as a tech company is to treat it like a product management process, because in product you continuously iterate, you test different value propositions, experiment, and then you learn and improve based on the learning. And this is also how I think that an organization should manage their brand, because the brand development process is also a learning process, and you continuously need to improve based on how well you manage to solve your user pains and the feedback that you receive from them.
Okay.
Sophie?
Yeah. And once you have the strategy, then of course it comes the implementation into the visual parts. So then you have also some time where you explore directions and you just see where it goes, you discuss, and it's a process. It's really back and forth between the client and you. So it takes time, but the result is the most important. So
if you ask about the design production and the part where we can help with the actual delivery and articulating the strategy and creating the deliverables, we can do this in 3 months, more or less, for a startup. But then the actual brand development, it also includes the brand activation phase, the rollout to the internal team, to the customers, and actually going through a series of activation activities that will enable you to bring everything to life. And as it comes to rebranding, it could be even more complex, because when an organization has been around for many years and wants to have a turn in its direction, it could be much more complex, because some audience groups needs to still feel safe. They shouldn't be afraid at some point. At the same time, you need to kind of decide on how to make the shift from moving from one area in the consumer space to another. And this could be really challenging process. But as it comes to rebranding, we believe that the only approach that works out there is not to go into a revolutionary mode with the branding, but just to make evolution.
Right, and thank you very much for this. I would like to also thank you, Wojciech, which came up with this question. I think this would be the final one for today, but it's crucial, and it had been slightly touched through other questions, but this would be probably a good wrap-up for the end of today's session. So, according to you, how can branding help in shaping your product decisions? Each startup or each tech company is about to deliver totally different product. This may be, for example, a bank account, virtual bank account. This might be a smartwatch. This might be a new pair of shoes, just like you mentioned. So how branding, so something that you deliver, may determine my future decisions of a product or a service that I'm about to build?
So just to recap, Would you mean how you can develop better products by working on your brand, or I haven't got the question?
How can branding help in shaping your product decisions?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, this is also great and very practical question. If you really do it from the start, and you know what you stand for, and you have defined your purpose, then this purpose and your long-term vision, which is usually great to have in some shape developed for the next 10 years. It's okay for a lot of things to not go in the right way, but you need to know why you started what you're doing, and what's your overlying purpose, which is not something that changes any year. So this provides you with a very clear value map that you can use in a very good way in your product decision making, and save you a lot of time and effort, because what we see today in a lot of organizations is, as it comes to having an MVP or version 1 of a product, and then what features we need to add next or to suggest next. And if you don't have a clearly established brand strategy and purpose that is articulated with clarity to the whole team, then there are some crazy things that happen. Every person of the team has different ideas, and all of these ideas are good by themselves. And then we can get some of the user requests, because it's typically normal for different people out there to request something that they think they would need, and will do their job well. And if there isn't very clearly established purpose in the organization, then the management could decide that many of these ideas and feature suggestions, they make perfect sense in terms of business opportunities or in terms of new problems to solve. So yeah, and at the end you can create a mess. Just start adding features that have nothing to do with your initial vision of bringing you closer to kind of realizing your purpose. So that's why having a clearly established purpose and mission, it could serve as a compass for the product development teams. And I think one of the best activities you can do when a product team is revising their roadmap is to also kind of see and reflect on what part of their mission they want to achieve into, let's say, the next quarter or the next 6 months. So if you make sure that every single person on the team, they understand what's the mission, then all of these feature ideas and suggestions won't come out of context, and they'll provide some strategic ways for your product, for your startup to be able to move forward with realizing its potential and its purpose. This is what I think is the main benefit of having well-established branding, and I believe it could be a very powerful tool for the product organization as well, not just for the marketing.
All right, then. Thank you very much for this. I think that it was a very good summary of today's session. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for your time. I would like to highly encourage everybody who will be watching this show later on, so not today. If you have any questions to Sofia and Jordan, please feel free to reach out to them. Fiction Agency is yours. Feel free to contact them in case of any further questions or perhaps some projects. Yeah. When it comes to us, when it comes to Merrick's live session, we will be back in 2 weeks talking a little bit about the conditions and the environment of establishing a startup in Malta. So thank you very much, guys. Have a good one. I hope that the weather in both locations is much better than Poznan. And thank you again.
Thank you very much, Mike. You was a great facilitator, and it was awesome to chat about branding with you. I hope that we managed to provide some practical tips for anyone who is interested to the topic, as this is more than more than anything that we want to do. A lot of people ask us how to do our branding and what we need to do next, etc. So yeah, I managed that we managed to bring some practical tips. And for anyone to use something out of it. Thank you, guys. It was great, and I look forward to your next session in 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure it will be great.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.